this 5 all at once. So what's your name, your degree, the year you're in, your campaign colour, and your brand?
Yes. Okay. My name is, should I look at the camera?
Yeah.
My name is Sargun Saluja. This is the second I'm doing this. Yay. My campaign color is black and white. That's the Impact campaign color. I'm she, her. And also, before I started, also like to acknowledge the people of Gadigal country where I'm at and pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and future. And my degree is I studied a Bachelor of Science in Law. I just finished my Bachelor of Science and I moved to a full-time LLB. Yeah.
And how are you feeling going into this campaign so far?
Honestly, I'm excited. I feel like this campaign is something I'm definitely passionate about. I wanted, it's not even about the destination as much as it is about both the journey and the destination for me. Because I believe that there are a lot of things. Campaigning is like a good way to get like people aware and get talking about things that matter. And I get to talk about things that matter to me and things that I'm really passionate about. So it's fun.
Yeah. And what motivated you to run for president?
This is really interesting because I've been in Stupol for about 3 years now. Victor knows that. Victor's seen me around. And I started when I was in my first year in 2022. And I just sort of got involved in student politics. And I've seen so much happen from 2022 to now. There is the $5 meals, there is Food Hub. And it's been exciting because when I was at the USU, I was involved in a lot of the back-end operations of all these things that are happening. And I've seen from a 2022 when USU in 2020 was going to be insolvent and the SRC has had its uncontested elections and things were looking grim in the COVID era.
Mm-hmm.
And 2022 right after that, when there was no campus life, to the improvements that have been in the last 3 years, which have been absolutely staggering. And I believe in the two-pronged approach, and I believe that has led to a lot of things like the $5 meals, the Food Hub expansion. I remember when it was Rose and me and a couple others who were there volunteering on Food Hub. There's some good times. And now it's huge. There's so many people. And it's so lovely to see how far we've come and how far the SRC can make an impact. And that's why I'm campaigning. And yeah, I think that was the question.
No,
Was that the question? Yes.
And can you name 3 of your most important policy commitments?
Yes. So Opal concession cards. There's a lot to do with international students, and like I was saying, I've been in Stu for a really long time, and a lot of times I've seen voices of the international lost within student politics. It's happened a lot. Even the Opal concession cards has been such a long campaign, it has never gotten the momentum it has deserved to have. Should have gotten a long time ago. There have been so many, even International House never got that momentum. So in international Opal concession cards, also BDS, I believe that currently BDS is very surface level in the sense that we have passed motions for it in the SRC, and there is NDU branch motions, and we believe in a BDS environment and a place where we can boycott, divest, and sanction from IDF influences and towards a free Palestine movement. But there should be more effective ways. Like if we can absolutely put pressure on the pressure points, if we can absolutely remove Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and all of these companies from the face of campus, which I don't think is present. Like if we can, from pressure uni management and the USU to remove USU doesn't handle vending anymore with even university infrastructure to remove Coca-Cola and really put pressure on the BDS points. And thirdly, the third main policy is going to be, for me, an Indian food initiative. I'm really excited about that. So ANU has a tapri, and I think that Indian food on campus is lost. And so to bring that back would be exciting.
Okay, we're going to move to the politics portion.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you a member of a political party or a political organisation?
Yes, I'm a member of the New South Wales Labour Student Faction, and I am an international student, so it's tricky in terms of being a member of a political party because I don't vote, so I don't really get to be a member as such. And but I do find myself inclined to the Labour left.
Wait, so you're not actually a member, or like how does it
You
work?
need to be a citizen to be a
Oh,
card
right.
carrying member.
Can you describe your own politics briefly?
My own politics is left, I believe, in the two-pronged approach, which Angus before me did, and the approach that is negotiating with university management, and as well as negotiating on the table, going to all the committee meetings, which I believe a lot of presidencies before this one didn't do as much, and also being an activist, as well as the pillars that I stand for, which are decolonization, feminism, and democratic socialism.
Okay. And can you define left wing? Because there are other political groups of the SRC that would also define themselves as left wing, and almost every single president in the past few years have defined themselves as such. So, what is your take on that?
So, as I said, within left wing, it would be the two-pronged approach, which is a distinction within my left-wing politics, which is sitting at the negotiation table, as well as pushing for reform on the streets. And I feel like in terms of other political groups, and the distinction I have is I believe that more than left-wing and the sense of your politics being left-wing, it's also about behavior and culture. And I've seen the SRC be a space where it's, I wouldn't say, but I would also say sort of performative left-wing culture, in the sense that as an international student, I've seen that. I've seen where the people that I trust, my group of people, being the most empowering towards me, while I haven't seen that from other left-wing factions as such or as much. And I've also seen bad behavior in terms of like putting bugs in people's offices or like moving people's tables to janitors' closets, which is, I guess I put in my presidential statement, a little closet. So it's, again, that's like the sort of performative left-wing culture I'm talking about. That there's a distinction from the behavior and the way that you create change and do things that would help students around and welfare.
Yeah. Okay. You've kind of already touched on this a bit, but do you think your faction does enough to push left-wing causes within the party itself? And would you say that you have points of personal difference within your own faction?
I do believe that my faction does a lot. There was the Drug Summit and the Yes campaign, which I was a part of, as well as the Free Palestine movement. I've gone to most protests, like majority protests, and as much as I don't post about it, but I've gone to majority of the protests. I think it's a bit performative to post about it that much. And I've pushed, and there is a big in terms of political differences within the faction, I don't think there are discussions, because New South Wales Labour students, there is the culture of like binding discussion, but in terms of discussions, it always seems, since our politics align, it always seems to be a consensus, and I do not believe that any like voice as such is pushed down. I think it's very collaborative and very democratic the way that we work. Yeah.
Can I ask a bit more about what you did with the Drug Summit and the Yes campaign?
So for the Yes campaign, we held barbecues, and for the Drug Summit, we had I did a lot of petitions and getting petitions during Welcome Week as well as other times on campus, and with the Yes campaign as well, getting involved, talking to people, and I believe when there was telephone banks for the Yes campaign as well. Yeah, that we did.
All right, we're moving on to the SRC portion. So can you define the primary roles of the SRC?
So I believe the SRC is a representative body at the end of the day, and its primary roles are to represent students as well as to have an environment of welfare that could support students. There are the caseworkers and the legal team behind the SRC who do not get enough clout, and they should. With the caseworkers, I myself have had experience with SRC casework, and I feel like it's efficient, way more efficient than university administration, 100%. And God knows what's happening there. And the university legal team, the SRC legal team as well. And those are services that truly help students. I've witnessed firsthand how they've helped students in extremely tough times. And other than that, there's the activism and the council itself that promotes what the student body requires and what the student body wants at the end of the day. How the student body wants the university to respond, and how the student body wants its education provided to it, and the SRC plays a big part in that.
And what would you say has been a particularly successful campaign that the SRC has run over the past few years? This is difficult because has there been? I'm like going back to all the campaigns. I feel like all campaigns have gotten a lot of momentum, and they're. I believe that all campaigns have gotten a lot of momentum in terms of like the success we've achieved. It is a bit bleak, but there is possibility to do more. There were with the Opal concession card right now. We've gotten the minister. We've gotten Alex's support, and with the encampment, we were there for 8 weeks, and we could bring the university to the negotiation table, but then it was left at that, and nothing truly happened. And then the parliamentary inquiry. I think the parliamentary inquiry would be one of the more successful ones with the Palestinian, and I commend everyone who was on the parliamentary inquiry. That was a big moment to hold the government truly accountable. Yeah, I guess I'll go with that. Well, on the flip side, has there been like an unsuccessful campaign?
I think I feel like all campaigns matter, and a lot of work goes on to all the campaigns. I believe that the SRC truly works. I've seen students work and put on protests and distribute pamphlets and be super passionate about the causes that truly resonate with them, and they have gotten a lot of momentum. So I do not believe any campaign is a failure as such, but I believe that there could be more momentum, and the successes of the campaign aren't the successes or the ones that the campaign originally comes to the table with. Yeah.
Okay. So if you are elected, you will be the second Labour president this decade. So how would you describe the achievements of the past year, and how would your vision relate to that?
I think that the past year, in my opinion, there has been a lot of momentum that's gained in the SRC. I think that the years before, yes, encampment was a historic moment within UCIT's history, but I feel like the momentum within the last year that has been gained is astronomical, in the sense that the $5 meals, this simple extensions being kept, SRC going to every committee meetings, the SRC itself, more people know about the SRC than they did in the past. I feel like there's way more student outreach than there was before. There is also the entire rebranding of the SRC, which makes it so much more welcoming for students to interact with. I don't believe even with Food Hub and especially the $5 meals. There's so many students surrounding these initiatives, so many students that you talk to on a day-to-day basis that are impacted by these initiatives. And I don't think the SRC was here before. I believe that the SRC was lost within the various campaigns that it did and the various factions of the SRC and their various influences. And now the SRC feels like it's found itself because it's found its branding, it's found what it stands for, and it's found the welfare that it provides to students. And this movement itself within the 1 year, I think I really commend it, and I commend Angus for it because I've seen him put work into it.
What do you mean specifically about the branding?
I think it's easier on the eyes. It's
Like the actual logo.
The rebranding, the website.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, just more accessible. Even the social media platforms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, and also on the topic of the SRC being lost, how would you keep up the focus, given you've raised several campaigns that you would like to spearhead?
Yeah. I believe that I would stay focused because much like the political philosophy that is at present, I would be as engaged with committee meetings and as engaged with management, as engaged with the two-pronged approach that we brought to the table. And that's why SRC won't lose its focus, because at the end of the day, it's about what the students require. And at the end of the day, it's about appealing to the real students and the students on campus that are going through the cost of living crisis, that are going through various things. I myself, I studied a full-time load. I have for 2 months during the housing crisis 2024, I was just couch surfing. I couldn't find a place because there were no homes available. I've seen what it's like for students out there to have the university pressures, as well as cost of living pressures, as well as all the pressures around, like you yourself were talking about. And it's difficult. It's and the SRC, for the SRC to stay focused on its purpose as a student organization to provide that support to students and be visible to students in terms of providing that support is the focus that we require with the Opal Concession Cards campaign, or with the International Housing campaign, or with even the BDS campaign. And all these campaigns, these are student-focused campaigns that would provide that visibility and would be catering towards those students and relieving from their day-to-day pressures.
Great. Okay, so the SRC president sits on several committees, and you've mentioned willingness to partake in those. So how will you approach engaging with these committees and management in general?
I believe with engaging with the management at the negotiation table, I think one of the main concerns and criticisms that the left has is that negotiating with the management isn't an activist way to go about things. I disagree with that. I believe that negotiating with the management, sitting on the table and presenting your demands instead of boycotting management and not provide is counterproductive. At the end of the day, what truly is needed is results. What we sit on are results. If we can provide results, if we can actually make sure that the university divests from all these companies that are a part of its dirty little secrets, then that's results. If we can actually sit down at the table and ask for funding to be allocated to International House and push for that, that's results. Rather than organizing continuous protests when then being asked by the university to sit at the table and not going to them, that's counterproductive, I believe.
All right, and circling to the work that you've done on the USU ESG strategy, was BDS one of the considerations when you were working on it, and would you be advocating the USU to be an apartheid-free zone? And look, you're not obliged to share things you're not allowed to, but whatever you can answer.
I believe that in the USU, when I was working on the ESG strategy, BDS is going to be a part of it. I believe there are pressure points for BDS to be a part of it. And we have in the USU are the divestment. We're completely divested from weapons companies and fossil fuel companies. And that was something I was a part of the investment working group when I was on the USU, and something that we all within the board kept each other sort of accountable for. And the divestment also occurred when I just came into board, and it was an ongoing process. So I got to be involved with those processes, and then the complete divestment occurred. So I think BDS should definitely, in terms of the outlets and the food options and perhaps like the companies that we provide, I definitely do agree that BDS should be a part of it. And in terms of divestment, I think we're already divested from those companies.
Okay. And what relationships have you cultivated in your time at university that you can bring into your role as president?
I believe I have relationships with university management. I know the internal workings of many things. I know what's going on with the International House, with Wentworth Building as such. I don't know what's going on with the International House. Nothing's going on with the International House. Hopefully something happens. The alumni committee is involved now. But I feel like I have a bandwidth of knowledge that I bring to the table in my work in university. I'm already placed in a position where I know exactly what I need to do to get things done, and in exactly who I need to engage with to get things done. And that's a good position to believe in. I have a strong presence within the university. I believe I have a strong presence in the university in the sense that I have led events and I have been a part of like major USU events that the USU's put up. So as like a portfolio holder for the environment or international students, there was the International Student Cultural and Food Fair and the Enviro Week. And thus I have those connections and can easily use my pre-existing knowledge, hopefully, to do all the things that I really want to do.
Could you talk a little bit about some of the events you said you led?
Definitely. So I was a part of the International Student Roundtable. I didn't lead that. That was a Supra initiative.
Yeah.
Then there were submissions as well. And in the International Student Roundtable, International House was a big part of it. And at that time, I campaigned and I had a lot of discussions with the university about reviving International House. And I think there was momentum before the International Gap happened, and then the momentum completely dropped down. And in other events, I've been a part of the Fest of Creativity in the beginning, in my first year. International Culture and Food Fair, the stamps that happened last year were something that I discussed with Shirley, which was really exciting to see. And other things among like engaging with students to have an open forum for performance, and instead of it being a more clubs and client thing, to have it open to all students. As well as I was involved in the Our Watch conference that happened for women facing violence. And yeah, a lot of things. I'm like recounting them, and there's just so many. Yeah, it's all in my candidate statement, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, and we know that the SRC presidency is a tremendous commitment, so how will you manage your time?
I think this is a really interesting question because it's because I'm an international student. So we're international students, it's really unfair and it's really discriminatory in that regard, and I think that I bring that perspective to the table as well. International students have to take a 24 credit point full-time load, and FAN is currently doing that with the USU presidency as well. And I think, I truly believe that it shouldn't hinder me from getting a position, because that's just purely discrimination. That's what happens with the Opal concession cards. You say, oh, it's discrimination, and then it just becomes an exception. Oh, it's not discrimination, but you have to manage a full-time study load as well as take on extracurriculars and be a part of the community. And there are 10 pressures onto you along with the full-time study load that you're currently doing and the expectation to be achieving according to your visa requirements and award in all your subjects. So it's and that for that to hinder me from being a part of the SRC president would be truly shameful, and thus I'm running because yeah, fuck it, I'm international, I want to run, and this is the first. If I am elected, if I am like the first international president, fuck it, let it happen. Yeah.
And okay, so how have you collaborated with other factions, and how would you collaborate with them on council, especially given the large size of council next year?
I think I'd be able to collaborate with factions. I do not believe I have any bad blood between people, I believe that I'm a very open person. I don't hold any grudges, so I would be open to collaborating with anyone and everyone. Thankfully, I don't have to face the same handover as Angus did, and I think that a lot of my policies align with the left's policies, and for me to be representing those policies and be advocating for those policies, it would be truly a shame if if instead of the left not uniting to work towards something, to work towards free Palestine and all the policies that the left believes in, and to have factional differences lead the way, that would be very counterproductive, and that would be a fault of the left's.
How will you be working with the various collectives, given the active role they play in drawing in people from outside the SRC?
I think in terms of the collectives, I believe that they all have their individual strengths in the way that they're all focused towards certain particular aspects, and I feel like we can unify our campaigns, especially with the ones that matter the most. Like Free Palestine has been mobilized, and in the same way, the International Oval Card campaign and the International House campaign can be mobilized, and that's how that's how I believe that I would like to work with collectives. To mobilize bigger campaigns and align with most people's interests, which I believe are similar at the moment. Yeah.
And how will you approach resolving interfactional conflicts, given that there could be a few of them?
I believe in terms of interfactional conflicts, I would be open to hearing different perspectives. I think at the end of the day, it's all about communication. And my politics is that I want to get things done for the left. And I want movements to mobilize and for there to be tangible outcomes that we present to the student body. And if that is the discussion that is occurring, and if we are being productive towards the student body, that is both parties' responsibility to see, and that is both parties' responsibility to recognize. There can't be petulance in that regard because we're all working towards a movement. And I think that most people are open to reason, hopefully. Yeah.
And what would working on the various campaigns and policies you've listed look like? As much as people loathe it, there's a limited SRC budget, and how would you manage that, and what decisions would you make?
In terms of the SRC budget and in terms of the decisions I would make in terms of what is prioritized and what isn't prioritized, I think that there are certain campaigns that deserve priority. Although I do not believe that only certain campaigns should be prioritized in the sense that the budget should account for the campaigns that are serving student body interests. And it shouldn't only, the budget should balance campaigns in that regard, place the priority campaigns on a higher level, and place other campaigns which are as important but possibly not as urgent in terms of what matters more currently. Those campaigns should have a budget accordingly. But I think like I'd be open to discussing with people if they believe that their campaigns are urgent and deserve more money in the budget. Yeah.
What would you describe as a campaign that deserves priority?
I think at the moment, Opal concession cards and Free Palestine, definitely.
I asked this before, but just need a little bit more on it. What would you working on these campaigns look like?
Mm-hmm. So, with Opal concession cards, I think it's like the ongoing debate has been, there have been so many petitions. We got the response from the Minister of Transport when we did. And then there was just like a one-liner response, sort of, oh, there's already a $50 limit, it shouldn't matter. And there's the question of where is this momentum going? There's just continuous petitions, and is there going to be this is a campaign that has predated my time here, and it's unfortunate because every other state except New South Wales has concession transport for international students. It's just New South Wales where somehow international students aren't deserving of concession and aren't deserving to be recognized as students.
Mm-hmm.
And the response we asked, like I think it was like 2 weeks ago, that we call that SRC and Supra had a roundtable, and Jenny Leong was called, and a amount of people were called, and we had the same question, like, what do we need to do? Like, we literally put a lawsuit in a long time ago and said it was discriminatory, and then you just made it an exception. And that, oh wait, transport is actually an exception, not discriminatory. And she said that we just need to best serve people. I feel like there is momentum in that sense that now we do have Alex Greenwich backing us, and we require more support in terms of we need to be more pesky. There needs to be more pressure sent to like MPs, more pressure sent to the parliament, and that is what it needs to be done more importantly. But other than that, I think the most important thing is like the mobilization. That's why I think that if I were SRC president, and what would distinguish me from people that are running is it would be a priority task for me, and it would be a priority campaign in the sense that it would gain, I would make sure that it gains more momentum than it has before. It becomes more pesky than it ever has been before, and it truly hurts where it matters. And the MPs truly have to deal with it, and Labour truly has to deal with it. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a certain expectation of the president filling in a significant activist role. So undoubtedly spearheading protest movements, filling in things like Form 1s, coordinating with different activist groups.
Mm-hmm.
So you've spoken to a lot of experience with more service provision-based roles. And while the SRC obviously occupies both spaces, are you confident in your experience in those areas translating to the SRC?
Yes, I feel like I am an activist. I've always been an activist. I was a part of the farmers' protests when I was in India, and I've attended so many protests over here. I'm not a cloud chaser with protests, so I simply go and I protest and I come. And I think I am an activist in that regard. For me, my politics I try to be as honest as possible and as principled as possible with my politics. And I think I am an activist, if even if that is not and I think that's also a fault of the left in that regard, because even though I have always been about activist, because I'm an international student, there's like a layer that sort of comes over it. I'm not seen as a domestic activist as such. I am not a citizen, so my voice automatically doesn't have a vote, and the weight of my words diminishes by itself, which is really unfortunate. And even if I've spoken on multiple things that have never been reported on ever, and I've seen like a whale be put under like my activism and what I've done, or like what many others so many international students I've seen do. And I feel like as the SRC president, perhaps I could be seen more in that sense, and maybe I could push that whale, break that whale apart.
That's good. Alright, I'm just going to return back to the Opal concession topic really quickly. So it's true that you said it's quite strange that all the things are in place and there's been petitions and it's in the Labor Party platform, and the Minister for Transport have been in the senior New South Wales Labor left faction. So what do you think is the disconnect here? When you say make it hurt for MPs, would that include MPs that are your faction's patrons?
Yes, it would. Definitely. I feel like that's sort of the philosophy that we try to stand on. That even if it is the MPs that are our faction's patrons, we want to be hurting the institution from within. We want to be threatening the institution in the sense that we're a part of the institution because we believe in this, and this is what we want from the institution that we're a part of.
So, what is your relationship with the NTEU?
My relationship with the NTEU, I do not think I have that good of in general, that relationship with the NTEU. Maybe I need to have a better relationship with the NTEU.
And what will your approach be during enterprise bargaining, given that they will begin next year?
I think since I am a unionist, my approach to enterprise bargaining would be that of a unionist's approach to enterprise bargaining. I would make sure that the wages are fair. And my push, honestly, I feel like as the SRC, the SRC doesn't get enough staff. And there should definitely, there's already the push for the 40% staff, the more than 40% staff that the University Accord has. And but my point being, I feel like we should get more funding from the university, and it shouldn't impact staff wages as such. So when the enterprise bargaining agreement happens, that would be my outlook on that as well. My priority would not be pushing down wages. My priority would obviously make sure that the wages stay up, but like our staff funding increasing, because this is the university's responsibility. We are the SRC have done so much, and the university has to fuel in the staff to account for all that the SRC does for them.
Yeah. Okay. So to clarify, what do you think is the role of the SRC in the University of Sydney's EBA, as in supporting the NTEU?
I believe that we should push for higher wages, and we should make sure that like jobs are secure, and that's the priority with all the course cuts, and we should make sure that like people's jobs and wages are protected according to inflation.
Yeah. Okay. And practically, like, how would you approach this? Like, join them on the picket lines? What other things would you be doing on the ground?
Yes, of course, definitely, like, join them on the picket lines. And other things I'd be doing on the ground, I believe, definitely using my relationships and pressuring the university as a student organization and as the SRC does as much as we can, and active involvement with the picket lines, as well as sitting down when it matters and when there are conversations that need to be had and bringing the exact demands that we are pushing for. Yeah.
And how would you endeavour to make the SRC more visible?
I think that like the SRC is doing a good job at present to be more visible with social media, and a better way to make the SRC visible is to provide I think like there's the activism aspect for it, obviously, and the other aspect is to actually provide and like when we are providing the things that we promise, like the $5 meals or food hub, to showcase ourselves as the organization that is pushing for students and student rights and student welfare, and making sure that we have more visibility talking to students on ground, as well as talking to students at like sites where we're providing welfare to students.
Thank you. Well, we're up to the last 3 questions now. So, are you at liberty to disclose any tickets or factions that you are currently working with?
I feel like they'll be disclosed soon enough. I think like the campaign.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's just a week away. Yeah.
Okay, that's alright. And we've got a fun one. If you were a frog, what colour would you be?
Oh. Like, can I like do something like whimsical?
Yeah.
Can it be like transparent?
That's a good one. And were there any final words you'd like to say?
Any final words? I think my final words would be vote for impact for Prez, vote for your first international president, and vote for a lot of tangible policies and outcomes and a united left front.
Thank you so much. That's it. Thank you for coming and for doing this.